You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to learn more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com, where we have past podcasts, blogs, and a couple items for sale. So check us out, beardedtheologians.com. Thank you for listening, and enjoy this week's show. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold. And today we have a very special guest and friend of the podcast, Susan Salley, on with us today from the United Methodist Publishing House. And we're so happy to have you on, Susan. Would you have tell our listeners, who you are, where you're from, what you do?
You bet. Thanks for having me. I am from Abingdon Press and the United Methodist Publishing House, and I work in an area called Ministry Resources. So we work on a lot of the church-wide studies, video Bible studies, seasonal studies for Advent and Lent. And because of that focus on media, I also work closely with our Amplify media platform that shares streaming videos to subscribers. So those two things have become, during the pandemic, very interwoven.
Absolutely. I got to know you through some work with Amplify as you all were getting that going. Had the opportunity to sit in the room with you and a whole bunch of other people and talk about what it looks like to bring this part of the church, this part of ministry to the digital platform, which was fascinating. And that was, a couple years ago. It's been a while. I think I know I lived in Montana at the time.
Well, it's so exciting because then it was a dream, and we thought, I wonder if we could accomplish this. I wonder if we could offer that level, of access to video. And now here we are a couple of years later, and it's real, it's happening. And alongside that, our pastors and teachers and church leaders and members have all become drastically more tech savvy. In just, even a year. So it came along at the right time.
It did. I can remember sitting in those meetings, dreaming about what this is, and it felt so far off. But I know I certainly felt and others felt the urgency of, this isn't all that far off. We've got to do it now because it's coming. Something is coming, and we need this as the church. And I can certainly attest it's helped vastly in the last 18 months throughout the pandemic. Not only getting the church to a place where we can do digital ministry, but also moving the church forward in ways and at speeds that we had. I don't know that we've seen in the past in the history of the church.
And seeing how that kind of access for all of us to digital ministry has come alongside our changing habits. And when the pandemic first happened, we were all right in the middle of Lent. And I remember that feeling of folks calling us to say, I'm only 3 sessions into a 6-session video study. What in the world? And we're ready. We're actually ready. We've got this for you. So going from offering something to leaders to keep the class going, to now I'm seeing more and more Amplify users have many of their church members using the site personally. So that means personal study. Maybe someone's doing all the great courses or using the short form videos, for devotionals. And groups are able to choose what they're doing for the year. Because when you're on Amplify together, you can review all the different things, see the different print products, listen to a speaker and decide, does this class fit what we want? But it's kind of like having every church member on the same day in the resource library being able to review video.
Right.
Which would never happen.
Right. Yeah, just getting them in the room, one, and then getting to actually do the review. Well, let's back up just a minute. We dove headfirst into that, which I love. But would you and you've done a little bit, but unpack Amplify and what folks can, find on it. What are we highlighting this season, I suppose?
Well, that's so great. Amplify is a subscription-based media streaming service that offers a church a way to invite the whole congregation in to access streaming video for study, devotion, now audio. the fall is really exciting. We have some new things coming up. H.A. Levine's new 6-week study on difficult words of Jesus, and you know the ones that if you had to preach them from the lectionary, you'd be up all night for a week. The really tough ones. There's that coming up. In October, we've got something that's really special that wouldn't have come to pass if it wasn't really for Amplify. It's called the Bible Year. It invites churches to read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation in 1 year with a daily reading plan. But Amplify comes in because we're going to have weekly videos with pastors around the country kind of setting you up for the week. Okay, this week you're reading these chapters. Let me tell you some things to look for, some things to help guide you. So those will be all right there on Amplify. But I had never read the Bible straight through from Genesis to Revelation within a year. I did that in Disciple, but not in this manner. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. In that is exciting. And for me, it's exciting. This whole project, all of Amplify leading up to it a couple years ago and into now, there's Bible apps out all over the place.
Sure.
But having something as a Methodist pastor, something that I know the people, I know the names, I can trust them. I'm not having to dig through a bunch of Google searches or listen to a bunch of things and determine whether or not that may or may not fit my congregation. I at least know going into it through the Amplify stuff, through the app, that we're going to at least be in the same ballpark.
Yes.
And that's so helpful.
No surprises.
There's no surprises. That's right. And Matt and I we'll be a little biased. We're big fans. You all have given us some opportunity to record some videos as the Bearded Theologians and put up some audio content, some of our podcast, which is super humbling to us because we're just a couple of guys out in the middle of nowhere doing a thing.
Well, it was so useful to us because we were looking for a way to give people a quick and studied look at some Wesleyan faith concepts. So you talk us through some things there in the audio that are so helpful, that you can listen to on your phone or on the computer, and that means the world to us.
Yeah, oh, it means the world to us. We're just happy people listen.
Well, and I get tickled when people ask, they'll be the first time using the application and they see our videos and they're like, how did that happen? How did you guys get to do that? And so kind of talk to them a little bit about how we were kind of helpful in getting the platform and providing feedback and things. And I know from my context, it's been very helpful. My wife leads Bible study on Monday nights, and I've sent you a couple of pictures of her leading using Amplified. But she's also like, that's the first thing they do when they talk about what their next study is going to be. They look through Amplify to see if there's anything that they would want to do, anything that's attractive to them. And that's kind of how they make their decision now as a group. Their whole little group does. And so it's kind of been a really cool feature for us to see. And like Zach said, just the sheer simple fact that we can have this content available relatively, like if we see a study that we want to do, we don't have to wait, the 7 or 8 days it takes for DVDs to get to us. And that just makes a world of difference. And it's been a game changer in a lot of different ways. And that's definitely been something I know I've benefited from, our congregation has benefited from.
Yeah, I love the ability for the group to take a look inside in a way that's really hard to do otherwise. Because when you start something that might be 6 weeks long, you think, does the tone, does the author's style, does this content, is it going to fit my group? And this way you can really look at it together and have something.
Well, and probably right after Lent or in the thick of Lent, I don't remember where it was, but we did the Justice Just Us study. Good. And we offered that, and we had 36 people join us. And out of the 36, the majority of them weren't from our congregation. They were from outside the community. And so it was really cool to showcase that, because people were like, where can we get these videos? And so I would kind of walk them, kind of talk to them how that can be looked at and accessed, or, and I thought that was just a really cool deal. And the only way I found out about that was I was browsing through Amplified and stumbled across it. I was like, and I watched one of the videos and I was like, this is one that we've got to do. This is, and so like, that was definitely a really helpful study for us in our congregation, especially in the thick of everything going on with the issues of racism.
Well, you'll see more of that coming, Matt. One thing that we're embracing about having a media platform is doing original things in a more timely way. When we saw that Rob Duquay and Nicole and Javon Caldwell-Gross had preached a super timely sermon series on how their church could become anti-racist, that was in September. And the election was coming up, and normally it would take us several months to get a project out. We said, with Amplify and with downloads, let's get these voices out to people more quickly. So it helped to start a line of Amplify Originals, video that'll only be on Amplify, but that we can turn fast. We can reach out and do unusual things. If you liked that, this month we'll be posting video with Robert Jones, who wrote White Too Long, that explores the legacy of white supremacy in American Christianity. It's really provoking. But the books with Simon & Schuster, but he said, I want to reach mainline congregations. So he filmed 7 short videos with us that'll be on Amplify with a little study guide you can download. So a church can look at that book and go through it in a way that wouldn't be available otherwise. But just these quick, really powerful original pieces, we think will open some doors to us for what we can engage.
I love that. Because often what we find in the church, whether it's, in our sanctuaries or in our local context, all the way to the publishing house, right? Or even, our corporate office, if you will, being able to respond in a timely manner, being able to put things out there in a timely manner, one is hard, but 2, having the tools, having the platform to do that is so helpful. And I think more so than ever, the pandemic gave us that gift of, we can do this. Yes. Not only can we do it, we need to do it, right? We kind of knew we need to. We just didn't almost have to, right? Because we had a lot of excuses, or we had, it's going to be too hard, we're going to take too long, whatever it is. But I really feel like we've been given this gift of, no, we do have to respond. We do have to speak to this, and here are the ways that we can. And I love that it's throughout what we do. It's not just here in our local spaces, but we're getting on board all over the place. And so we're not having to necessarily go and seek out the voices. They're there. You're helping get them there, where otherwise we may not hear them, we may not find them, and broaden that scope of theology, experience, context, everything in such a beautiful, beautiful way.
You're exactly right. I never really understood necessity being the mother of invention until the first week of the shutdown. And you watched pastors across the country figure out how to flip to online worship and how the camera worked. And we thought, if you can do that, we need to figure out how to creatively respond. And we all discovered that we can.
Right. That's what I've loved about it, is we all can. It can be as simple as your iPhone and a microphone, or a whole mass production setup, but you can. We can all do it to some rate, and reach our people in multiple capacities. And I love that we not only had that experience, but adapted to it and changed so quickly. And it didn't matter the size of church. I watched rural churches out in nowhere, Montana, out with nothing around them for a couple hours, do calls, pick up the phone, put it on speakerphone, and do a phone tree and do their sermons that way, because that's the technology they had. That's how they could reach their people, folks mailing out sermons, and then watching them progress from that to a cell phone, to a little nicer camera, to a full live streaming setup where they're doing worship, where, 3 months before that, they would have told you, we can't do that. That's not going to work. And they grew. they did it and did it well and reached their people and are still thriving today.
And the conversation has been so important as people share what they're doing and how they're doing it. We've been talking to discipleship leaders and congregations trying to understand what the fall is going to be like, kind of in this hybrid world. We've heard so much innovation. And one thing that keeps coming up is home groups. That as we're trying to bridge how we come back to the building, not just for health safety, but for our life patterns, we're seeing more and more innovation. And that idea of groups meeting in restaurants or homes during the week has been really exciting. No, we're glad because being able to use Amplify on your tablet, helps. Being able to watch it at home helps. Roku, but it's exciting and new, and it comes out of talking about what this change means for the way we work together, study together, learn together. So.
Yeah. Having the ability to do these studies in a quality and meaningful fashion outside of the four walls of the church is huge.
Yeah.
I think that's something we've missed or dropped in the, maybe the last 25 years of the church, right? When history will show us, I suppose, that we've come kind of insular. And there's been out of necessity, a big push to, oh yeah, we can do these things outside of the church. And in fact, maybe we should. And what a kind of gift that COVID gave us amongst all of the non-gifts it gave us, but just some perspective.
Well, the way, Matt, you brought in people from outside the church for justice or just us, what can home groups do to bring neighbors in who are not really ready to sit in a pew yet, but they're kind of curious about what you're doing. We're seeing that with some personal study too. We've noticed an uptick in things on Amplify, like some of the in-depth great courses, because folks have been looking at I'm home and I've always kind of wondered about that. Maybe I'll follow one of these professors through, a 14-week course because I can do it in my living room with my dog.
Yeah. And it goes back to that we can trust these people. We know them, or we at least know they've been vetted. And I've seen an uptick in that of, rather than people coming and say, hey, I Googled this topic. And after I got through like page 4 or 5 of, oh my gosh, what's on the internet, to, hey, so-and-so, this pastor, this writer, whomever, we really like their stuff and connected with it and know that we can dive headfirst in and trust it from the get-go. And I think that's something that's so helpful in our faith journeys of knowing, not having to do the legwork's not the right phrase, but being able to, it's time consuming, right? And can bring anxiety and just, there's so much information out there, I'm not going to do it. But having it right there through an app like Amplify, so handy, and alleviates so much of that.
We found that's especially true with the media for kids. We're offering it to church leaders, but then the church leaders offering this to parents who will show this to the kids. So that vetting we take very seriously. So we started a little more original stuff to go along with what we have. You'll see some read aloud Bible stories where kids are reading to kids, but it's fun, it's different, but it's something you really can put on while the kids are in front of the TV and feel okay about it, feel great about it.
My assistant's on the phone and I'm distracted. Meta had that at this part. Gosh, has there been any particular stories or anything that's come up since you all launched Amplify that you would like to share?
There have been so many great ways people have kept connected and kept together. One thing I have loved is the way women's Bible study groups have figured it out. I think from what we saw, and you've seen a different view, but it looked like women were at the forefront of figuring out how to make sure they got that touch-based time with other adults to really do in-depth Bible study every week. We saw authors reaching out to congregations to say, can I Zoom in with you and lead? We saw women trying to figure out how to meet online in new ways with Facebook, using Amplify, using YouTube. But just the exciting way that women in Bible study just made it happen was wonderful.
As often women do, they lead the church and move us forward in beautiful, beautiful ways. I love that. You know, we could go on and talk about all of the Bearded Theologian content that's on there, and you know how it's obviously number one in all of the rankings, right? It's mainly because I have it on my computer and it just plays constantly.
He's got a little scrolling mouse that just keeps scrolling it, so that way we get those hits.
Just so you guys would think, oh, we got to get them on here more. It's just me. It's just me listening to myself.
And the views are good.
And that's been what's interesting is when and Zach and I both have had colleagues send us like screenshots of them watching us. And I have to admit, that's a little surreal. That's not, you know, it takes us back. Like, and it's really cool. And it's, you know, we were blessed to be a part of that. And, you know, that was something that we really enjoyed doing, and glad we could contribute to that. And even the audio side of things, you know, it wasn't even a hassle for us to get that content to you all, because we, you know, it was just something we know is making a difference and impact. And to us, that's important. Like I said, it's been real fun to watch when people screenshot things and send us like, hey, like we're watching you all, you know, we're watching you all with our youth group. That's always kind of a fun little conversation to have. So.
Well, you know, that is one aspect that's so great, is the discoverability. You know, the United Methodist world is all over the map, but to come to one place and find something that you want to go hear more of, like the Bearded Theologians.
That sentence doesn't happen often. Where's more of this? Where's more of these guys? No, it really is. It's a super humbling experience, and we appreciate the work you're doing. And to be a very small part of that is truly a blessing. In the work that you all are doing in pushing forward what a publishing house does, how you get information out, how you get solid theological perspectives in a timely manner, how you bring hope to the world in, you know, a way that's really pretty unexpected. I hope you all know the work that you do is significant, and we all appreciate it from a pastor's perspective, but also from our church's perspective. It's a big deal. So thank you.
I appreciate that. It's important work. It's good to get up in the morning, and I know you feel this, and know whatever happens, you're doing something with a great purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So is there anything else you'd like to point us to or share before we say goodbye today?
Okay, there's one thing.
Please.
And if you're on Amplify, you can go take a look because it just went up. We have a pretty crazy Advent coming up. There's a wonderful All the Good, which is a Wesleyan study with Wesleyan scholars bringing the meaning of Advent in the lens of Wesley. And we have a study on the Grinch. Matt Rawle is unpacking faith themes in the Grinch. And I think that combination is not one many people were expecting in their choice set for Advent. But you have a choice between Wesley and or faith themes in the Grinch.
Very good. That's awesome. We, you know, that's what you get with Matt Rawle. You get kind of the unexpected Advent study. And yeah, and then you throw some Wesley on top of that, and how can you go wrong?
Got everything. You've got it.
I love it. In fact, we talked to Matt yesterday about, hey, when this comes out, let's chat, get on the podcast. So I think we've had him on for everything but Doctor Who.
Yeah, everything for Doctor Who. So
yeah. And it's because I know nothing about Doctor Who.
Earlier,
and Zach,
he posted an audio talking with a pastor in Northern Ireland about how they came to look at Doctor Who as really a stories about faith. And so but he had to tutor me. He gave me a list of 5 episodes to watch before I could even begin to consider his book proposal.
That's what I need him to do. Just, hey, what are the 5 episodes? and we'll have you on.
Perfect.
Well, Susan, we want to be good stewards of your time, and we thank you for joining us today and talking to us about this. I mean, I can't say enough. It is a brilliant platform that I want to encourage. If you're in your local church, ask your pastor, or if you're a pastor, like, figure out how to utilize this resource in your congregation, because it's such a strong resource to utilize. And in all honesty, in the long run, it's relatively inexpensive when you start thinking about it and you start calculating the cost for things. Is definitely worth the expense. As someone who's in a congregation where money is tight, it was a decision that, like, we were pretty solid that we knew this was going to be a good thing. And so, you can find the app on the Apple App Store, and I'm pretty sure Google is on Android. I'm not an Android guy, so
yes, it's on all the things.
It is on all the things, and just look for Amplified Media, and you'll find it fairly easy. And it just encourage you to get connected into that, and you'll find some things like that that you'll find fruitful and beneficial. And don't forget to watch all the Bearded Theologians ones. It will not take a whole day. You can spend the time doing that. Susan, do you have anything to say before we close?
No, just thank you for all the work that you're doing. Thank you for being a part of the creative process with us, and I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
So for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtold. Thanks for checking us out.
First, guys, I want you to subscribe and like this video, and push that thumbs up.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all social media outlets. You can check out old episodes and more information at beardedtheologians.com. Thanks for checking us out.